All right, Garrett, thanks much. And Garrett saying earlier that one of the jurors was actually crying there. Our R.J. Manuelian, defense attorney, here to join is in conversation about this verdict. Break it down for us. Tell us why the jurors went the direction they went.
Well, because the level of legal certainty required, which is the highest in the land, called reasonable doubt, wasn't met. They couldn't show that Geoge Zimmerman didn't act in self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. They had a lot of theories, the could've, the would've, the should've. And that was the problem. They based their entire case on what Geoge Zimmerman's lies were as opposed to what their theories were. If they stuck more as far as what they thought happened, like the way the defense showed with the animation, with the cement block, with the 4-minute time gap, they would have had a better case. But unfortunately, the prosecution's evidence was weak and their theory, unfortunately, was absent.
Meantime, De La Ronda, the prosecutor, you heard the passion in his voice. He says, we respect the jury's verdict, but in fact, his following words after that suggest, no, you got it wrong.
Yeah, that's why I don't expect the prosecution to say any differently. But the bottom line is...
But there was that passion, though, in his voice. It really sounded like he was completely caught off guard that the jury could come back with this verdict.
Look, there was a 17-year-old kid that died, and my condolences go to his family. So, of course, they're going to be emotionally involved. And deep down inside, they wanted the verdict to come down to be guilty. But when you look at it from a technical and legal standpoint, this case was never something that should have been filed. There wasn't enough evidence from the get-go. I personally believe that it was filed because of political reasons. But in the end, it's the legal level of certainty, the highest required under the law. It's reasonable doubt. And if you don't have that, regardless of how you feel, feeling bad alone isn't enough to convict somebody. And by the way, Trayvon's family has other recourses, other arenas. They have a civil lawsuit they could pursue. And my understanding right now is the NAACP is searching for a hate crime prosecution, the way they did in the Rodney King case.
And they're tweeting today they have over 100,000 signatures on a petition to the Department of Justice.
So it's not over yet.
Moving on.
Geoge Zimmerman's defense team expressing subdued joy at the not guilty verdict tonight,
but also saying the vindication of their client was overdue. Here's what they had to say after the verdict was delivered.
Obviously, we are ecstatic with the results. Geoge Zimmerman was never guilty of anything except protecting himself in self-defense. I'm glad that the jury saw it that way, and I hope that everyone who thinks, particularly those who doubted George's reasons and doubted his background, now understand that the jury knew everything that they knew was enough for them to find him not guilty.
I am gratified by the jury's verdict, as happy as I am for Geoge Zimmerman. I'm thrilled that this jury kept this tragedy from becoming a travesty. For that, we are eternally grateful. But it makes me sad, too, that it took this long, under these circumstances, to finally get justice.
Don West was criticized for his knock-knock joke to start out the proceedings. And then he also, or his daughter, tweeted out a photo. Lots of criticism of him, but then again, the jury was sequestered. So they didn't really hear all of that criticism going against Don West. How well do you think he did?
Well, look, you have to understand, from his standpoint, the prosecutor gave a very emotional opening statement, so he needed to diffuse that. And although I wouldn't have done it in the way of a joke, I understand why he did it. So I'm not blaming Don West, and Don West is a phenomenal attorney. And in the end, the result is what counts. And the result in this case was Geoge Zimmerman walking.
RJ, it really is a sign of the times. We're not seeing huge protests on the streets here or in Florida, but you are seeing it on social networking. Sign of the times.
Yes, it's very interesting because, you know, back when we had the Rodney King case, we didn't have the Twitter feeds, we didn't have the social media the way it is now. And I think it's a good thing. It's good to voice your anger as opposed to taking it to violence. So I think as a society, we've grown up a lot and we've learned to vent through these different outlets instead of going out there and rioting and committing mayhem.
And a lot of people are not in agreement with your opinion and feeling justice was not done tonight.
Exactly.
Indeed. Let's move on to some tweets.